Hello, welcome to Sound and Fury Book Reviews. As usual, I'm Tina. Today I'm doing a book review of The Desert Talon by Karin Lowachee. This is a book from Solaris. It's coming out February 11th, 2025. It is a fantasy novella. I received this novel from the publisher via a widget on NetGalley in exchange for a fair review. I was so stoked to get it too. If you follow my channel, you'll know that The Mountain Crown, which was the first one of these two, was one of my favorite books last year. I think it was my favorite novella. I really, really loved it. As compelling, heart-wrenching, and thematically complex as the first book, The Desert Talon is a worthy sequel. I can't even talk because I'm so excited. Now, because it is a sequel, there are spoilers for book one in this review, so please read book one first if you're at all interested in this. It's honestly fantastic. You totally should. It's a novella too. It's short. You can read it in one sitting. So what is this one about? Safihale El Janan, apologies, sits in a prison cell in the southern island of Maysmore, dreaming of escape. After months in a provisional prison for fighting for the Imperial Catechins, Janan is sponsored by another refugee who was once part of his scattered family. Yearning to build a life on his sister's land with the dragons their people revere, the peace Janan seeks is threatened by a ruthless dragon baron who covets both Janan's connection to the earth and the battle dragon to which he is covenanted. The conflict may drive Janan to acts of violence he hoped to leave behind in the war and bring more death to the land Janan now calls home. The Desert Talon is a story of two groups of people who, despite a common ancestry, have diverged so far in their beliefs that there appears to be little mutual ground, and the conflict may well start to unravel the burgeoning hopes of a country and a man still recovering from the ravages of war. So first, I forgot to say that I actually got a copy of it for Christmas. I was so happy to get a copy of this. So all I asked for Christmas is books. Everyone's like, really? I'm like, yep, I just want basically the books that I read on NetGalley that I really, really enjoyed. And so I got this. And upon starting to write this review, I realized I totally missed something about the title of this book. The Mountain Crown, I thought, referred to the king dragon that they were after in the first one. But after reading this book, the Desert Talon, I realized it meant crown as in herd, which is what the dragons are called, like a crown of dragons. In this book, there is a talon of dragons from a different region. This is so incredibly clever, giving the title two meanings. And it's little details like this that reinforce for me how much thought and detail are put into these stories. Also, calling a pack of dragons a crown is so cool. Almost as cool as the good old murder of crows. Yeah, so I thought that was really, really neat. Anyway, this book is excellent. I wasn't sure going in if it could match the sheer amazing nature of the first book, and while it didn't quite reach that for me, it did not feel tacked on or unnecessary, and I still absolutely loved it. To get this out of the way, I think the only thing that I didn't like, and it's not even that, it's more just that I was missing Mecca. I adored her, and to find out that she wasn't in this, I was kind of sad. Yeah, we do get to meet some new characters that were also really interesting people. So after the first few pages, I was back to being entranced by the story, but I was like, where's my girl? While the theme of the novel last time was more about colonialism and environmentalism and sustainability, as well as occupation, this is more about living in another culture, but one that isn't actively antagonistic. Like the previous novel, it's a more nuanced look than most at how wars disrupt not only lives but culture, and how prevailing forces function with blinders on towards how those they've taken over or incorporated into their lands wish to or need to live. As the blurb said, it's like two cultures not really warring against one another but struggling to live within one another. So in this book, it's less about occupation and more about what happens later, what happens centuries later when you still have distinct cultures but people are living together, and how those things have to function, and what happens when one group has more authority or control over the other. The dragons are a big part of this as well, but they also spawn into a commentary on abusing animals and the environment for monetary gain, and how money and status can protect you even when you are in the wrong and when everyone knows you're in the wrong. And how this was shown was absolutely heartbreaking, and it's very poignant and relevant to today, which I think is kind of the point of these books. They're pointing out something about our own societies. The story is meditative like the first one, with passages with Janan thinking about his past or how things are different now than they were before. We get more insight into Lily and even Raka too, though more on the former. We also get more of the exceptional world building from the first that just feels so immersive and so easy to picture. There are just little details dropped here and there that don't get fully explained, but they make sense and they fit what's happening. Like there's a way Janin is controlled when he's let out of prison, like how he's like monitored, that it's explained, but it's also not like explained in depth, and that kind of made it more interesting to me because it just felt like more naturalized. It didn't feel like they needed to explain. It was like, yeah, you can figure it out. You can fill in the blanks. The book is also about family, the bonds you make with others, and the bonds you make with the animals in our lives, which I thought was really, really important. A big part of the book is the bond that Janin feels not just with his own Suan, which is their name for dragons, but all the dragons that he comes across. There's like this, the Basuan, which is his people, which you learn in the first one, have a sort of telepathic connection with the dragons. And so when he feels certain dragons being in distress, it causes him distress. It's almost like and the dragons can feel his distress. So it's like a symbiotic relationship, and it's almost like how we should live with our own world. You know, we should feel a symbiosis with our planet, with how we live in it. And I mean, it's as I've talked about many times on my channel, I'm very much an environmentalist, and I'm very big into sustainability. And so I really loved that aspect of this book because it really spoke to me, if you couldn't tell. Overall, I thought this book was excellent, and I highly recommend it, especially if you read the first one. You should totally read this book if you want detailed world building, thought-provoking concepts and situations, and dragons, because we all love dragons. Dragons are great. Yeah, so thank you again to the publisher for the e-arc. I really, really appreciate it. I'm definitely going to be putting this one on my list for next Christmas if I don't just go out and buy it on my own. Yeah, so thank you for watching, and